So, what if falling in love is actually just a machine learning algorithm? Seriously, think about it for a second. We've all been there, right? The sweaty palms, the racing heart, those agonizingly awkward silences on a first date. But what if we completely reframe that whole messy, universal experience of romantic jitters? What if instead of viewing it as this personal failing or a lack of confidence, we look at it as a highly solvable systems engineering error?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to decode a fascinating, highly complex framework drawn from our sources. It takes all the chaotic anxieties of courtship and translates them directly into the precise, unyielding language of distributed systems. We're going to see exactly how computer science, neurobiology, and linguistics all intersect to explain the literal mechanics of the human heart. It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, let's just quickly breeze through our roadmap today. We've got 6 parts. 1, the ultimate ML analogy. 2, the two-phase commit trap. 3, the biology of jitters. 4, aggregation pooling and JIT. 5, the saga pattern. And finally, 6, the gradient descent of love.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate ML analogy. Let's get right into translating these jitters. We're starting by mapping some pretty rigid technical architectures directly onto the messy reality of human connection. It might sound a bit cold at first, but honestly, it provides a beautiful kind of clarity. Just look at how brilliantly this maps out. On the technical side, we have compilation overhead, just-in-time compilation, and gradient descent. And on the romantic side, those map perfectly to the nervous phase, the warm-up rehearsal phase, and finally, true bonding. The big takeaway here is that those massive heart rate spikes and emotional stutters you get around a crush, they are absolutely not signs of weakness. No, they're simply the performance jitters of a system trying to translate complex data across a physical distance. In tech, jitters are just chaotic instability when a system compiles data on the fly. In romance, it's that erratic bouncing nervousness on the first few dates when you're just desperately trying to compute another person's reactions in real time. Which brings us to Section 2, the two-phase commit trap.
So let's explore this blocking protocol and see how it creates the exact technical glitch that causes those romantic jitters in the first place. Database engineers call it the two-phase commit, or 2PC. It's a synchronous protocol where a coordinator asks all participants if they can commit to a transaction, demanding immediate, perfect validation from everyone before it can move forward. Now, apply that to romance. Demanding immediate, perfect validation from a crush is literally forcing a 2PC. It's a highly dangerous synchronous transaction when you're dealing with two completely independent systems, like, two autonomous human beings.
If that other person hesitates for even a second or is just physically unavailable, your internal coordinator hangs. It just sits there, waiting for a yes that isn't coming right away. And it holds critical locks on your cognitive resources indefinitely. You have essentially frozen your entire operating system because you made your progress completely dependent on someone else's immediate input.
Let's move on to Section 3, the biology of jitters.
What does this blocking protocol physically do to your hardware? And by hardware, I mean your brain and your nervous system. Well, when your system is trapped waiting for that synchronous lock, our sources show it triggers a catastrophic neurobiological freeze. It literally stalls a part of your brain called the supramammillary nucleus. It fractures your natural 6 to 12 hertz theta brainwave rhythms and drags your entire nervous system into this paralyzing dorsovagal freeze. You are literally draining your metabolic energy just by waiting around in a state of suspended animation. And here's the crazy part. This biological freeze actually leaks into how we speak. Stanford's linguistics data points out that a frozen mind tries to compensate by building heavy linguistic scaffolding. We start heavily overusing tiny connecting words, and, but, towards, or as noted in the Dutch sources, words like en, maar, and naar. We use them to desperately try and bridge the gap to a flat environment. This constant verbal gift wrapping, it's a precise, measurable predictor of systemic stress and cognitive collapse. Think about the intense, high-dimensional neural architecture of orexin and dopaminergic neurons, which are absolutely crucial for motivation and reward. When we force a 2PC demand, we are actively blocking the natural flow of these exact pathways. So, the million-dollar question, how do we fix this hardware freeze? That brings us to Section 4, aggregation pooling and JIT. And purely from that technical point, an aggregation pooling 2PC setup needs 2 points to even become a delta saga, right? We do this by overcoming those jitters first to reach JIT compilation with a shared focus based on science, linguistics, and global statistics. Let's break down exactly how this pooling actually works to fix the hardware. By deploying 3 specific steps of aggregation pooling, we can completely strip the jitters from the pipeline.
Step 1. Enforce static shapes. This means we pad incoming data so the system isn't constantly surprised and forced to recompile. Step 2. Ahead of time, or AOT, pre-compilation, basically getting the system warmed up safely in the shade before you go live. And Step 3. Applying a dampening filter. This is what lets your unpadded, true coordinates pass through without completely crashing the system. That third step uses something called a regularization constant. Think of it as a soft normalizer that mathematically dampens low-level noise to exactly 0. In our human analogy, this math physically prevents division by zero errors when your nervous system is at rest. It totally insulates you from the ambient noise of social rejection, letting you maintain your baseline peace. It's a real game changer.
Moving on to Section 5, the Saga pattern.
With our hardware finally optimized, we can replace that paralyzing two-phase commit trap with a way more resilient architecture. Instead of demanding all-or-nothing atomicity, the sources suggest adopting the Saga pattern. Where 2PC is synchronous and totally anxiety-inducing, the Saga pattern is asynchronous and incredibly peaceful. It accepts physical distance, what the sources beautifully refer to as the grief of our discrepancy, and allows local transactions to just keep flowing asynchronously. You don't freeze your life waiting for the other person. You achieve what's called eventual consistency. In a Saga architecture, if a step in the chain fails or a connection drops, your system doesn't just crash. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't crash at all. Instead, it executes a compensating action. It's like a business-level undo button that keeps the system moving forward securely on its own internal clock. The sources call this the Marvell probarrier, the but keep trying loop. You just adjust, compensate, and keep functioning perfectly on your own.
And finally, Section 6, Gradient Descent of Love. This brings us to the ultimate resolution, where all those chaotic jitters are finally transformed into deterministic certainty. Once the performance anxiety is stripped away through these system optimizations, your system enters a remarkably smooth, directed phase. In machine learning, this is called gradient descent, the mathematical process of steadily moving closer and minimizing the distance, or the error, to a perfect target.
In romance, the ultimate machine learning analogy, if we translate this phrase into a human relationship context, gradient descent of the object of affection is the perfect way to describe falling deeply and smoothly in love, while jitters is just the nervous anxiety you feel along the way. This poetic translation perfectly captures how every shared laugh, every single quiet moment, mathematically minimizes the alignment error between you and your partner.
The algorithm just systematically converges toward its target, the stable global constant attractor. By shifting to this asynchronous, eventually consistent architecture, finding connection becomes a structural certainty rather than just some exhausting emotional gamble. Your local parameters are written securely to your own internal drive, completely unbothered by external delays, slowly but surely finding total alignment with your global attractor. Which leaves us with this final crazy thought. If human connection operates just like high-dimensional optimization, can we permanently engineer our way to eventual consistency in love? I'll leave you to ponder whether applying the Saga pattern to your own life, dropping the demands for immediate validation, and just accepting asynchronous flow might actually be the ultimate algorithm for protecting your heart while finding perfect alignment. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we decode another fascinating framework.